The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to take a second to introduce myself. My name is Carl Grain, and I'm going to be your trainer for this morning session of Advocating for F&I. We have about 5 minutes before we start, so I appreciate you all signing in a little bit early. So go ahead and hang tight, grab a cup of coffee if you need it, and we'll be starting promptly at 9 o'clock. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself and start our session for Advocating for F&I. My name is Carl Grain, and I'm the Director of Training at Easy Care University. And this morning, we're going to take these seminars have been taking anywhere for about 45 minutes or so to go through the content, but want to take this opportunity to thank you for signing on and just to encourage you to continue your education and honing your skill set during this downtime that we have in the automotive industry. I know that this is a very trying time for most people, both personally and professionally. And so I really do applaud you for taking the time to sign on to some training during this downtime. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to take the next half hour, 45 minutes or so, and we're going to run through a course called Advocating for F&I. Again, my introduction is Carl Grain, Director of Training at Easy Care University. And if you would please jot down my phone number, my cell phone, and that is 678 367 5474. and my email address at cgrane@easycare.com. One of the ways that you could reach me during during the seminar this morning is feel free to text me to that cell phone number there, any questions or comments or requests that you might have, and that's one of the ways that we'll be able to communicate during our training sessions while we're online today as well. So while I'm speaking about that, there's a couple of ground rules that we have for these online webinars. We have class time allotted for up to 1 hour, but again, typically these classes have been running. This class I anticipate will run somewhere around 35 to 45 minutes. I'd like to have you ask any and all questions that you can as we go through it. A couple of ways that you can ask questions. Number one is, again, you can text me on that cell phone number that I just shared with you. You could also go to your control panel that you have on the GoToWebinar, and you can raise your hand, and I should be able to notice that and stop, and we'll be able to ask or answer the questions you might have. And then there's also a question queue there where you can type out a question to me directly, and we can answer those, or I can type the responses back to you as well. So please ask as many questions as you need to as we go through the content today. There is some time that we're going to ask for some participation towards the back end of the class, and I may ask a couple of questions up front as well. And I know there's a number of people as I'm going through the list here. I've got Brian Francis. I've got who do I have? I've got a number of different people here. Chris Conroe, Erica Cooper, Jerry Weldon, Jim Grosco. There's a whole bunch of people. Catherine Parker. So don't be surprised if I call out your name or I ask you to help me participate during the class as well. The last thing that I have for you is please take notes. Really, this class is a little bit different in its presentation because what we're trying to do with this class is we want to get the sales consultants to help us in the F&I office, to endorse us, to advocate for us, hence the name of the class. And so take as many notes as you can, and if you actually like a copy of this presentation, please email me afterwards, and we want to share this presentation so that you can bring it back to your sales staffs once they get back to the dealership. This would be a great way to kick off how we're going to re-enter into the market, and this would be a way to help get the sales staff on board with us in the F&I department. The last thing is that right now I've got all of your microphones on mute, and if I need so later on, I'll open that up, and that's another way how we will converse. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off here with the old school F&I manager. You know, back in the day when I first entered into the F&I office, this was the epitome, or this is what the image of the F&I manager was. We were that high flying, that very charismatic, that lone wolf, if you will, out there in the dealership. We really didn't need anybody else to do our job, or for us to do our job well. Okay, but times are changing, and over the last couple of weeks, unquestionably times have changed. And so what's happened, we all have felt it, is that both on the front end of the car deal and on the back end, the margins are compressed. Gosh, I remember back in the day being a salesperson, we used to be able to make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of front end gross, right? And we used to have that type of markup between invoice and MSRP. And then on the back end of the deal, on the F&I portion of the deal, if you were running $800, $900 a copy, man, you were killing it, right? Remember those days? But because of the internet and because of how people can shop online, and we've got to be transparent, that front end margin has compressed to absolutely near nothing. And so all of that pressure of where we're going to make money, a lot of it has been shifted from the front end of that car deal to us back in the F&I office. And if we're going to run the numbers that our dealer principals are expecting us to run, we can't do it by ourselves anymore. We do need the help of the sales department, and that's what this class is all about. And so really, sales and F&I, it's no longer that individual sport. It's got to be a team sport. And so we've got to get the sales consultants to really understand what is F&I, why F&I, and really how it can benefit them as well. So everybody's got to get on board. So I'd like to take a second here to really talk about the differences between what is a salesperson and what is an advocate. A salesperson, they go back and they'll sell on those features and benefits, which is not a bad thing to do. I mean, that's one of the ways that we can or they can build value in the vehicle, the dealership, in themselves, right? But an advocate endorses through experience. For example, if you were to ask me about road hazard, okay, and why a client or why a customer should get road hazard, I'm going to light up and I'm going to tell you just how awesome the road hazard policy is. Because if you're going down the road and you hit one of those potholes or you run over a glass or nails or something like that, you can be able to get it towed to the nearest certified station, bring it back to the dealership, and it will be repaired or replaced at no charge. And I can tell you that because of the 4 drivers that we have in my family, all 4 vehicles have got road hazard on it, and I have probably 2 or 3 road hazard claims a year. And so through my endorsement, through my experiences, you can feel that difference of being an advocate. You know, that salesperson, what they do is they're going to offer products based on the job. Many times they're going to offer products based on the pay plan. Okay, whereas an advocate is going to offer those benefits based on the value of those benefits. The salesperson, their offer is convincing. They're trying those old school sales tactics. They got the word tracks, whereas an advocate, you can tell the authenticity of what they're saying or how they're saying it. You can tell that they truly are authentic and they believe in what they're telling you. Okay, the salesperson is going to make a suggestion based on what they tell the customer. We are going to make it, we being the advocates are going to make a recommendation based on what the client believes, not on what we believe, but what the client believes. It's so much easier to get that client's buy-in when there's an interest level there on something on their part. Okay, a salesperson, they do it to get paid. Yeah, we all do it to get paid, but we're going to offer advice based on what is a good buy or a good value for that client. Okay, and if you treat them, the client, that way, the pay will follow. The pay will come. But that salesperson, they're doing it just to get paid. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. We believe in it. And if you do it that way, I promise you the pay will come. And so there's a little bit of a difference between what is a traditional salesperson. And I'm not going down, I'm not talking down on that traditional salesperson, but being an advocate in today's arena is something that you can truly believe that authenticity. Okay. Some other attributes, if you will, of advocates are: number one is transparent. Boy, if I look back on the last 1 or 2 years of the automobile business, that word transparent or transparency has got to be the buzzword that I've heard time and time again. Being transparent means that everything's above board. We're showing them all the information, we're giving them all the information, and we're letting them make the choice. We're being transparent with the information. Again, you can tell that advocate is passionate about what they're talking about. They really, truly, truly believe it. The next thing is that they're authentic. Again, there's no BS, okay? There used to be a phrase in our business, fake it till you make it. Well, I'm here to share with you that phrase is going by the wayside because your clients can smell your BS. They can smell when you're trying to baloney them, if you will, okay? They're knowledgeable. They have product knowledge. Okay. And to help you with that, just to let you know, I'm going to do a little pitch. Next week online, we're going to have a vehicle service contract product knowledge class. If you need more information, if you need to study up on your product knowledge for VSC and other benefits, man, tune in next week, go back to the schedule. We've got a full hour class that we're going to do that. But you've got to be knowledgeable about the products and benefits that you are presenting. Okay, convincing, excited. Again, you can tell when somebody is just doing it to go through the motions or when somebody's truly, truly excited about it. And you can also feel that they are genuine in their convictions. So I'm going to share with you an example of something that I feel passionate about, that I'm an advocate about. And you can really tell the difference from it just based on this experience. So one of the things that I'm an advocate for is last fall, my wife and I, we celebrated a significant wedding anniversary. And in order to do that, or when we did that, we actually flew down to Tampa, Florida, and we went to a steakhouse called Bern's Steakhouse. I don't know if anybody has ever been to the Tampa area or if you're from Tampa, but if you ever have the opportunity, you need to go to Bern's Steakhouse. And let me share you a little bit about Bern's Steakhouse. Okay, when you go, obviously you have to make a reservation. When you pull up, the outside of the restaurant really doesn't look like much because it's kind of like an old warehouse. But of course, they have the valet, they have the people that are very dressed up. They're going to take your car, they're going to greet you properly, and they're going to valet the vehicle. When you walk inside, you walk into the maitre d' area, and it's a two-story with a long staircase as you walk in. The dark wood paneling is so thick, you can just feel how thick this dark wood paneling is, right? And of course, you walk up to the maitre d' and you say, "Hello, my name is. I've got a dinner reservation." Of course, they look that up, and in my case, I made dinner reservations, and I gave them the note that it was my anniversary. And so what they did was they said, Mr. and Mrs. Grain, we're so happy to have you back for your wedding anniversary. Mrs. Grain, may we present you with a rose for your wedding anniversary? I mean, that was the first wow that we got, right? And then, of course, they said, please come right this way. We have a special table reserved for you on your anniversary dinner tonight. Again, was it a special table reserved for our anniversary? Of course not. But the way that they presented it just made us feel that much more special. And so, of course, you go through the dinner, and the wine person comes out, and they suggest some wine based on the meal that you've ordered, and the food and the service and everything was absolutely off the hook amazing. Okay, but here's where it gets even better. At the end of your evening at Bern's Steakhouse, they ask you if you would like to take a tour of their restaurant. And keep in mind, you just had one of the best meals that you've ever had in your life at this Bern's Steakhouse, right? And then they offer you a tour of their facility. And so what they do is they take you back into the kitchen, and they have a couple of waiters that all that they do is they do tours all night long of the restaurant. And so they take you back, and they first start you off at the salad station, and they talk about how at Bern's Steakhouse they don't outsource any of their food. They for their produce, they have their own farm, and they grow their own lettuce and tomatoes and everything that they serve. And so you're watching them prepare the salads, is they're talking about how they grow their own produce. And then it comes next to their appetizers. Then they talk and they take you and they show you the meat freezer, and they talk about how they age the meat, right? And then you go on, and two last things I've got to share with you. This is just absolutely incredible. The next thing is that they take you into their on-site wine cellar. They actually have two wine cellars, one on-site, one off-site. The one on-site has more than 30,000 bottles of wine. And of course, we asked them, hey, what's the most expensive bottle of wine that you have? And it is in excess of $100,000 for one bottle of wine. And so you go down into this very cold, cool, it's almost like you're going down into a cave underneath this restaurant. And they've got all of these bottles of wine, 30,000 bottles of wine just on premise. They've got another 60,000 bottles of wine off in their secondary location. And it's just amazing. And then the last thing that you do is after the tour, they offer you the ability to go up to the dessert room. And the dessert room, what they do is they have these huge wooden barrels that wine is made from, and they've made them into quaint little small tables for you to have your dessert in. And it's just an absolutely fabulous meal. But what's even more fabulous than the food itself is the service and the experience that you have. Now, I think you all can share and understand with me that I am an advocate of Bern's Steakhouse, right? It's not your average steakhouse. And there's probably a couple of you out there making a note saying, man, when I go to Tampa, I've got to go there. And so by me sharing that experience with you, you can tell how passionate, how authentic, how energetic I am about this particular restaurant. And so you can feel that difference versus if I go, yeah, hey, if you want a good steakhouse, you could go to Ruth Chris Steakhouse. It's a really good steak, right? And so I'm kind of selling the Ruth Chris versus being an advocate for the Bern Steakhouse, and you could really hear and know that difference. Okay, and so I wanted to share with you a really passionate example of something that I advocate for outside of the automotive business. Okay. And so, one of the things we've got to do with our sales staff and everybody back at the dealership is we've got to start with the why of F&I. And why does that salesperson's customer need F&I? Why do they need the F&I benefits? Okay, and we're going to take a little trip back in time and we're going to talk about the original benefits that were offered in the F&I department. Now, please keep in mind that F&I started in dealerships somewhere about the mid 70s, and early 80s is when it really caught on. But there were three original benefits that were offered in F&I. The first benefit that was offered in F&I was the vehicle service contract, or our customers and salespeople always refer to them as a extended warranty, correct? So the vehicle service contract was number one. And the reason why the vehicle service contract started was, if you go back to the 70s and early 80s, what was the manufacturer's limited warranty that came with the vehicle? Anybody know? I'm going to share with you. It was 12 months, 12,000 miles. That was it. That was it. And so what a really smart dealer decided or figured out pretty quick was, he or she was walking through the service department, and they were hearing customers complain about the fact that, man, my car is only 15 months old. I only have 15,000 miles on it, and you're telling me that this is broken and it's not in warranty. And so this particular dealer, actually a couple of dealers got together with somebody by the name of Pat Ryan, and they formed the first F&I office, and they started the vehicle service contract. And so that was really the genesis, and that's really how the whole thing started. But the first benefit was the vehicle service contract. Now, back in the day when I took my very first F&I class, the word track was when your new car is going to break. So right out of the gate, we broke their new car. The second original F&I benefit was disability insurance. And so what we did was we first broke their car. The second word track that we had was we got them sick. And we asked the customer, we said, okay, Mr. Customer, when you become sick during the term of the loan, how are you going to make your monthly car payment? It's going to be kind of tough if you're not going to work, right? And so broke the car, got them sick, and you know what the next thing is that we did to them? We killed them. They died. They got so sick that they died because they would need the life insurance on the vehicle loan. You certainly would want to have your vehicle to be an asset to your estate, not a liability, correct? You wouldn't want your loved ones to be saddled with the debt of a new car loan, do you? And so those are the original benefits that started in F&I. Okay. But now it's a little bit of a different world out there. And so what we talk about is our 5 pervasive client exposures. Okay. And this is why your clients, the salesperson's clients, need the F&I benefits. The first pervasive exposure that we have is the limited factory mechanical coverages. Now, if you take a look at all the different manufacturers out there, the majority of them are 3-year, 36,000 mile limited manufacturer's warranty, and then you have 5 years, 60,000 miles on the powertrain. Now, okay, I get it. There's some luxury brands out there that go a little bit longer and stuff, But when you look at all of them combined, that's generally the term. But your clients or the salesperson's clients, they're going to keep the vehicle 5, 6, or 7 years. And so is there some exposure there? Absolutely there is. The next thing that we have is maintenance costs. Again, there's a few manufacturers out there, some of the luxury brands. Toyota does the first 20,000 miles of oil changes, tire rotations, and a multi-point inspection. But the maintenance of the vehicle is an exposure for that client. Tires and wheels. Again, as we talked about and as I shared very passionately and advocated for earlier, is road hazard. There is not a manufacturer or tire manufacturer out there that offers any type of a warranty or a guarantee against road hazard. And so that could be very costly and very expensive for a client. Key replacement, as short as just a few years ago, you could still go to Home Depot or Lowe's, get a key cut, go to Walmart, get a key cut, $5, $10, $20, and you go on down the road. But these things called proximity keys these days are very, very expensive to replace. And if you lose or break one of them, you have to get it laser cut, you have to replace it, and then you have to get both key fobs reprogrammed again. And so that could be very, very costly. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you've seen this, but there are some manufacturers out there that you can actually park your car off of the key fob. BMW has it and Hyundai has it. Hyundai had a great commercial at the Super Bowl this year where they were talking about how you can park the car in tight spots off of the key fob. So just let one of your customers drop that key fob and have to get that one replaced or repaired and see how much that one costs without having a key replacement policy. And then, of course, the last one that we have pervasive is cosmetic issues, exterior, interior paint, the appearance, and anti-theft. Let me also share with you what the definition of pervasive means. The definition of pervasive is high frequency and significant expense. And the challenge that we have is the sales team. Keep in mind what the sales team's job is. The sales team's job is to get an answer to say yes to the car deal. Sales manager, sales consultant, if they're doing their job, they're getting a yes to the car deal. If the question of warranty comes up, what do you think they tell the client or the customer? 3-year, 36,000 miles, bumper to bumper, no worries, got it covered, 5-year, 60 on the powertrain, it's covered, don't worry about it, right? And so because they're trying to get that yes, they are not having, they're not advocating for us, they're not advocating for our benefits. And so the sales staff does not know, nor do they understand what these 5 pervasive client exposures are. And so one of the things that we have to do is we have to train them, teach the sales staff what these 5 pervasive exposures are. Those of you who have been through the F&I Impact class will recognize this graph for us. And so in our F&I Impact class, one of the things that we do is we do what we call a needs awareness presentation. And what we do with that is we go through all of the things that the client does get from the manufacturer, which are the items that are on the top of this graph. We also go down and we talk about the exclusions, the things that are excluded from day one from the factory. We then go down and talk about the exposure in their finance contract with gap insurance. And there are still some dealerships out there that offer life and disability. We also share with them the fact that safety and appearance items are what the manufacturers consider to be normal wear and tear, so they are an exposure for the client. And then we wrap it up with going to their anticipated ownership. We say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, based on what you told me, you're going to keep the vehicle 8 years, driving 20,000 miles a year. This is what your ownership experience will look like. And what happens is you got some great coverage up front, but on the back end of your ownership experience, you do have some exposure and some exclusions where things are not covered. Do you have any questions? And so what we do with this graph, and that was a very abbreviated presentation of the graph, But what we do with this graph is we don't talk down the value of the vehicle. As a matter of fact, we talk it up, but we do have to illustrate their exclusions and their financial exposure that they have. And so this graph represents a really good way to do that. We've had a lot of success over the years with this graph in our F&I school. Now, all of this translates back to the customer and their ownership experience. And back in the service department, there's really three ways that our service department gets paid. And again, we may realize it, but our sales consultants don't realize it, and certainly our customers don't realize it. So let's talk about the three ways that our service department gets paid. The first one is what we call our internal payment. And what the internal means is a great example here is we take a used car in on trade, and the used car department sends it back to the service department to get reconditioned. And so what happens is, because the dealer owns both departments, the dealer cuts a little bit of a deal between the used car department and the service department. And so what happens there is we have what we call an internal rate, okay? And that money gets charged to the cost of sale or the cost of that vehicle. The next way that our service department gets paid is through warranty or a service contract agreement, okay? Either the vehicle's under the manufacturer's limited warranty, or they have a vehicle service contract. And so when the customer comes in, all that they have to do is pay that small deductible, and the service contract or warranty pays for the time, the part, the labor, everything included in there except for that small deductible. The last way that our service department gets paid is through customer pay. And it's just as it says. The customer has to reach back there into their wallet and take the money out of their pocket or out of their purse and pay. And so I've got to ask you, if you were a salesperson and you were selling a vehicle, what type of experience in the service department do you want your customers to have? Can't do an internal, right? We certainly can do under warranty and or vehicle service agreement. Or do you want them to do customer pay? Which way are they going to be the most happy with you, the dealership, and the vehicle that they're buying from that salesperson? Obviously, it's when it's under warranty or is under that service agreement. And so a couple of other facts about the service department that the sales staff may not know. Okay, that is that the dealer offers no implied warranty. Okay, and that means that dealers, since we don't offer an implied warranty, that we are not legally obligated to pay for any of these future repairs. Okay, it then becomes customer pay. Outside of the manufacturer's limited warranty, boom, customer pay. Also, a customer is much more loyal to the dealership and to that salesperson when they don't have to reach into their pocket and they don't have to pay for any type of a repairs. So as a salesperson, again, what do you want your customer to do? You want them to have the best experience possible and not have to come out of pocket for any repairs while they own that vehicle. And so I've got to ask you, both as a finance manager and as a salesperson, is which would you recommend? Which item on this list can you advocate for? Can you advocate for a service contract? That should be pretty easy, right? How about GAP, prepaid maintenance, tire and wheel, key replacement, paintless dent repair? I mean, the list goes on and on, right? Select 5, select 6, whatever it is. So can you and can your sales department recommend or advocate for it? You know, it's really easy for when somebody like me comes into a dealership, and I can tell very quickly what benefits an F&I manager likes, what benefits an F&I manager advocates for. And how I do that is I'll get the performance report and I'll take a look at their PVR, their per vehicle retail, how they're doing overall, take a look at how much of that comes from reserve, how much of that comes from product sales, and I'll go down the line and I'll say, okay, they're at 55% service contract, man, they're advocating for it, they got it. They're at 45% gap, yeah, they like it, they got it. And then I come down here to prepaid maintenance. and it's at 2 or 3%. Ding, ding, ding. Hey, the red lights go off there. That F&I manager does not believe in prepaid maintenance. They do not believe in they don't advocate for prepaid maintenance just based on that low penetration. Because hey, if you follow the 300% rule and if you present all the benefits to all the customers all the time, you're going to get 5 to 6% just because it's on the stinking menu, right? So you're actually, if you're not at 5 or 6%, you're actually talking down that benefit, much less being an advocate for it. And it's the same with your sales staff. So again, can your customers smell your BS? Absolutely, they can smell your BS. They know when you believe in something and when you don't believe in something. And so here's a good example to run past your, this is a great example to run past your sales consultants. So let's give this to you. Customer bought a vehicle, 60-month bank contract. They've owned it for 38 months and the check engine light comes on. So my question to you all is this: is that customer covered? Are they going to have a warranty covering that example or that situation? Okay, the answer is you don't know. Okay, there's no correct answer. If all they have is a manufacturer's limited warranty and that check engine light comes on, at best, they've got a 50-50 shot of having that covered, because it could be something pertaining to the drivetrain where they may have that 5-year, 60,000 miles. Okay, but a check engine light can be any one of a number of different symptoms that could be related to the check engine or could be related to something else. Now, if the customer does not have a vehicle service contract, they are going to be 50% of the time they're going to have to pay for the parts, the labor, all of that stuff. Not only that, but they're going to have to pay for towing. They're going to have to pay for a rental car. They're going to have to pay, if they're away from home, they're going to have to pay for all of their expenses if they're more than 100 miles away from home. All of those things, right? They would be financially responsible for. And so what are they going to think of that salesperson? What are they going to think of that vehicle? What are they going to think of that dealership? Right? But if they had a vehicle service contract, and I'm going to put it out there, 98% of the time in that scenario, it's going to be covered. And all of those other ancillary benefits, day one coverage, are going to be covered as well. And your customer is going to go away happy. They've got a $100 deductible, $0 deductible. They're happy, their vehicle's fixed, and they go on down the road. And they're going to become an advocate for that salesperson, for that dealership as well. Okay. Now, do our customers, do our vehicles that we sell, do they need F&I benefits? Well, take a look at this. If you go and you look at and you Google paint issues on a Lexus. Okay, now Lexus is a pretty high dollar, high expensive, high quality vehicle, correct? Look at this, paint issues on a Lexus. 395,000 web hits dealing with paint problems on a Lexus. How about paint issues on a Honda? 567,000. Honda builds a great engine, I've got to tell you, but they can't figure out how to paint a car. Next, paint issues on a Ford. Take a look at this number. 17 million web hits about paint issues on a Ford. They build a great truck, #1 selling truck for 42 straight years, right? They just can't figure out how to paint those suckers yet. So if you look at those issues, right, pervasive issues outside of the warranty, because think about it, there's only 2 manufacturers that I know that offer any type of a warranty on their paint. But Lexus, Honda, Ford does not. Is there a reason to get Resist All on those brands? Absolutely. Do a web search, show it to you. Okay, how about I want to buy a vehicle service contract? Do you think that there's some misinformation out there about a vehicle service contract? 10,700,000 web hits. Okay, make no mistake, there's some bad information. There's a lot of bad information out there about a vehicle service contract. And then how about tire and wheel damage or replacement services? 20,900,000 results. I mean, the information is out there because these things, these pervasive exposures happen every day. Again, the challenge is we've got to educate the customer and we've got to educate the sales staff on these are real world experiences that their customers are having that we need to make sure that we educate the customer and that salesperson on. Now, true cost of ownership. You know, I'm buying a new vehicle. It doesn't need anything. I'm only going to keep it for a couple of years, blah, blah, blah. It's all going to be under warranty. Well, we got this figure from Edmunds.com. And of course, the consumers always believe everything that's published in Edmunds, right? And so what we've got here is the true cost of ownership on a 2019 Ford F-150 four-wheel drive. According to Edmunds, the cost for maintenance and repairs for the first 5 years of a brand new 2019 Ford F-150 is $6,200. Now, I know a lot of savvy F&I managers, and what they'll do is they'll go into Edmunds beforehand and they'll print this thing out and they'll have true cost of ownership. They'll have it on a piece of paper in the deal jacket if they need to help advocate for the service contract or prepaid maintenance or whatever it is that they're talking about with the customer at that point. But this is something that a third party is doing for us to provide this information. And this is pretty good information on a new vehicle. But if you're selling used vehicles, go into Edmunds cost of ownership and go back there and put, hey, whatever it is that you're selling and look at cost of repairs and maintenance on that vehicle. It's a great statistic to have by a great website that everybody believes in. Now, let's take a second here and talk about how and when should we advocate for F&I. Now, if we're getting down and the salesperson is in the negotiation stage and they start talking about F&I products or benefits, it's too late. Because what happens then is that F&I benefit becomes a negotiation tool, not a value building tool. So we've got to advocate for F&I long before we get to the negotiation stage. Okay, when should we advocate? During the pricing online of the vehicle, right up front. When we're during the investigation stage and we're getting all that good information as salespeople from the customer, that's when we need to advocate. We need to tell them about our reconditioning process and all the things that we do for recon if it's a pre-owned vehicle. We also need to talk about all of the great things the dealers do free of charge. We give away so much stuff in our dealerships that we don't take credit for. A lot of dealerships that I know today, they'll give away 6 months or a year of dent repair, of key replacement, of a number of different things like that, right? And the salespeople forget to mention it. And so that's adding cost to the vehicle, but we're not getting any benefit for it. Okay. And so the other thing is we've got to ask them, we know they've been online. So we've got to ask them about their research and what they've seen online, and then talk about how our F&I benefits go hand in hand with what they've looked at online. And so one of the things I'd like to share with you is a number of you know one of my fellow trainers at EasyCare. His name is Steve Richards. And one of the things he does Steve does a great job, by the way, little plug on the other channel, if you will, on EasyCare University right now. Steve has got 3 or 4 sales seminars that he does every day as well. So please don't forget to sign up for some of Steve's sales seminars. He's doing it online just the way that we're doing it online here in the F&I department as well. But what I'd like to do is share with you something that Steve does. Is called an early active trade appraisal, and you'll see how he advocates for this. And so what I'm going to ask a couple of y'all to do who know me is I'm going to roll this video, and I've had a couple of technical difficulties on it, but if you all will tell me whether or not the video is rolling, as we do it, I sure would appreciate it. So go ahead and text me when we get it going. Okay, Ashley, so this is your vehicle. All right, I can tell you right now, this is the type of vehicle we would love to buy from you. Your next payment, when's it due?
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And how much will that payment be?
Be about 420.
420. Okay. Any idea how many you have left?
I got about 2.5 years left.
Okay, good. All right. I see that somebody, probably certainly not you, but somebody hit a curb right here, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay. It happens. You've got some dings and dents like everybody else in the state of North Carolina. You know, you may have some coverages that will repair this at no cost to you. You may have some coverages that will fix every ding and dent on this vehicle at no cost to you. And by the way, both of those things will make your vehicle worth significantly more. Do you remember when you bought this vehicle, if you happened to purchase paintless dent repair or cosmetic wheel?
I mean, probably not. I really don't buy that kind of stuff, but maybe.
Okay, understandable. What I want to do before we go too much further is take a look at the paperwork from your previous purchase, if you've got it in the glove compartment.
Why would you do that?
Well, good question. We do it for all of our customers. We do it for two reasons. Number one, oftentimes they do have coverages that they have forgotten about, or maybe came complimentary. You didn't even have to buy it. That will make the vehicle worth more. Number two, by the law in the state of North Carolina, if some of those coverages came with your vehicle, you are due a cash refund. So oftentimes we'll find what we call hidden cash for our customers. All right. Now, how many keys do you have for this vehicle?
I have one key.
Actually, where is the other key?
I don't know. Things got a little crazy one night. Lost my key. I got home, found my spare.
Okay. The reason I ask is keys are extremely expensive. All right. The more keys you have, the more your vehicle is worth. Now, you'll be glad to know that many of our vehicles come with these coverages complimentary, meaning they come with paintless dent repair, they come with key replacement. For example, did you check in to see what it would cost to replace the key for this vehicle?
Yeah, I did one time. It was like $350, so I didn't want to do it.
And you did what most people do. You take really much better care of your last key.
Right.
Okay, but if you had key replacement, which again comes with some of our vehicles, it would pay 100% of that cost for you. It would make your vehicle actually worth more. Okay. Okay, check engine lights on. You know why?
No, I just kind of leave it there. It feels fine, so.
Okay. Well, it may not be anything serious, but when the appraisers look into, check this vehicle out later, they take a deep dive into the mechanical workings of the vehicle. Now, did you happen to purchase an extended service contract or vehicle service contract with this vehicle?
No, I didn't think it was necessary just because I have a factory warranty.
Okay, well, and a lot of people don't. However, had you have done that, there's two things that would happen right now. Both of them good for you. Number one, if this check engine light is an indication that there is a mechanical issue, chances are the service contract would have paid for that fix at no cost to you or whatever the deductible was, and it would have made your vehicle worth more. And secondly, if your vehicle's perfect and this check engine light's nothing, well, you would have been due a refund by the laws of North Carolina. Something you really ought to consider with your next purchase. Okay. Now, of all the options and accessories that you've got with this vehicle, which ones do you use most often?
I use my Bluetooth a lot. I like the text message stuff that comes through there.
Okay.
I got the navigation because it came with the package that I was on. Don't really use that too much. I usually mostly just use my phone because it's already connected to it.
Okay.
I use the sunroof a lot.
Okay. So
anything else, not really.
Sunroof, we want on our next vehicle then.
Yeah.
Bluetooth, we gotta have on our next vehicle. Navigation, not so much.
No.
Okay. You know what? What we want to do today is we want to get you a vehicle that's got everything that you need and everything that you want that we can fit into your budget. All right. Now, I see that you're a tennis player.
I am.
Very good. I don't see any dog hair, which means you don't have any dogs, or you're just an extremely clean
It's a house dog.
It's a house dog.
Tiny, yeah, she can't really go anywhere.
Okay. All right. What doesn't this vehicle have that you want your next vehicle to have?
Leather.
Okay. Why leather?
Just gonna spill a lot of things. I have dark makeup, gets on seats. I'd rather just be able to wipe it clean.
Okay. So that's about $1,000 additional, but it sounds to me like it would be worth it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? Your interior, while it's in pretty good shape, but there are stains and such, where they quite frankly wouldn't be here if you had leather. All right. That'll also help your resale value as well. Okay. Anything else that you've seen or heard about that you really would like on your next vehicle that this vehicle doesn't have?
Nothing too much. I mean, I don't really know what kind of additional options and stuff that you guys have, but I guess.
Okay, well, we can look into that. All right, and if your payment right now is $400 a month, I'm going to assume that you've probably budgeted somewhere between $525 to $550 for your next vehicle.
Yeah, something like that. Obviously, I'd like to get as low as possible.
Okay, well,
Financing options.
I understand it. All right, well, good. Let's go back inside and figure out what vehicles best fit your needs and fit in your budget. Cool.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So that was Steve in doing his early active trade walk. And so what I would like to ask you all is this. I'm going to open up the microphones to everybody, and I'm going to scroll. I'm going to pick a couple of y'all out here. Let me see here. I'm going to start off with, and I'm going to ask Chris Corneau up there in Michigan. I'm going to unmute your mic. And could you tell me maybe one or two things that you saw that Steve did in this early active trade appraisal that he did to advocate for F&I?
Hey, Carl, how are you?
I'm good, Chris. How are you doing, bud?
Oh, pretty good. He did a great job of planting the seed and asking the customer about previous benefits that they had, asking for the previous paperwork. And it's really just planting the seed that if they had the coverage that these items would have been fixed, and there's potential for hidden money in the form of a refund as well. So he's really just being an advocate while planting the seed at the same time.
Absolutely. He's doing two great things for us. He's being that advocate. He's pointing out the value of the benefits that we have in F&I, and then he's planting those seeds for them up front. So absolutely, he's doing two things for us. So, hey, Chris, I appreciate that. I'm going to ask one or two more. I hope you're doing well up there in Michigan. Stay safe, bud, would you?
You too, Carl.
Thanks. All right, let's see here. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit, and let's see here. I'm going to open up for Jerry Weldon. Jerry, I know you have more of a focus on the service department. Jerry, if you could unmute yourself, but you can talk a little bit more from that service point of view, what this does, and what were some of the things that you saw that Steve did well during this early active trade appraisal?
Hey, Carl. Well, what I really liked was when he started talking about money due back. Kind of lets the customer know that they're not locked in. If they do decide to trade the vehicle, they can get some money back from that. So I think it takes a little bit away from them, their willingness to want to put down that money. Sounds like a lot of money, but they can actually get a refund for any unused portion of that back if they do trade the vehicle. So I think that helped customers, decide to go ahead and purchase. And then just the walk around and talking about all the things that we could get fixed before the trade in. I think that really worked really well.
Absolutely, you got it. Now, your background and your emphasis is on the service department, right? And so I'm going to ask you to step out and give the group here. We've got almost 30 people online this morning about some of the benefits you see when a customer comes in, when they've got a service contract. What are some of the benefits that you see versus when somebody doesn't have one from that service point of view?
Well, I mean, there's probably no better advocate than your service department, because we deal with the benefits part of that. So one of the qualifying questions is that we ask them if they have an extended contract. So if they're out of the factory warranty, we want to know if there's somebody we need to call to go through before we call the customer. So If they're out of the factory, I'll ask them if they have an extended contract. And if they do, they'll give me the phone number. And if they don't, it's a very good opportunity to talk about that. And, possibly get them to purchase one if they haven't already.
Yeah, I tell you that the service department, without question, can be your biggest advocate for a vehicle service contract because when we went through the 3 types of service payments back there, there's no question though, especially in your mind, Jerry, which ones are the easier ones to deal with and which ones are the ones that are a pain to deal with, Jerry?
We know it. Yes, we know that for a fact. The ones that are going to be issues to deal with, we always know them by name. The ones that don't cover gaskets or fluids, or they cap their labor amount, or that are going to be difficult. So we definitely always know who's going to be a pain to call and who's not. And Easy Care has always been nice and easy. I hear that a lot from, I go to all the Sheehy stores. So, if there was ever any issues with that, I would definitely hear about it, but there's hardly ever any issues.
Yep, got it. Appreciate you, Jerry. All right, now I'm going to call out one other person here. Let's see here. How about, let's see here. Well, you know what? We are getting a little bit short of time, so I'm going to wrap it up a little bit. I'm going to mute everybody back at this point. But I know that you could see from Steve's walk around how that sales consultant can advocate for us and help plant the seed. And just think about what would happen to your performance in the F&I department if we could train everybody to do that early active trade appraisal like Steve did. Wouldn't that be an awesome deal? And so what I will also share with you all is this. Again, I'm going to, let me put up my contact information here. If you want to get a copy of that video, what I can do is I could send you a link. We have that video posted on the Easy Care University YouTube channel, and I could send you a link to that video that you could show your sales department, and you can train your sales department on that as well. And again, think about your performance and what could happen for you in the F&I department if we could get our sales departments and our sales consultants to do just a little bit of that as well. So again, if you want to, you can either text me or email me, and I'd be glad to email you that link of that video. Again, cgrain@easycare.com or my cell of 678-367-5474. And so if we don't have any other questions at this point, what I'd like to do is thank you for jumping online today. We're approaching the end of our time today. And so what I've got for you is, again, thank you very much. Please tell other people within the dealership. Please tell F&I managers. This is just not, we're doing this as a service to our industry, not just to Easy Care dealers, but we want to help the industry during this downtime. And so you go to easycare.com/webinars, and there's a whole list of sales and F&I seminars that we're doing online during the month of April to help out and keep everybody's skill set up. So again, I appreciate your time very much today. If there's anything that we can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. Stay safe out there. Keep your distance from everybody else. And I, like you all, look forward to getting back in the dealership and getting back to work as soon as possible. So thank you all very much, and hope to see you all in class soon, or at least on a webinar sometime real soon. Take care, y'all.